where you're at. You got to reevaluate where your target audience is. All right. Are you aware of your self-talk? So that's the next worksheet. Developing awareness of self-talk. And again, you know, and the reason why I know that sometimes people get a little bit upset. Well, you're not sharing from, you know, you're always talking about yourself. Yes, because I am my biggest teacher. Why wouldn't I share from myself? Why wouldn't I share? I'm the coach. Why wouldn't I share with you guys how I conquered my demons? You know, that's what you're going to be doing. Right? So there are two types of thought: inner voice, commentary about what's around us. Okay. Deeper beliefs, opinions, perspectives, and judgments. So sometimes it's like, you know, when we see things, we make a little bit of a comment, right? Like if I see somebody who's walking the street and I'm like, okay, this person's tore up from the floor up and they're acting skittish and unpredictable. So, you know, I think that I'm going to either, and I've had to do this already. I've had to like slow my pace to make, you know, get them out of the way, let them get at a distance. So then that way, when I need to turn off, I can turn off without any hassle, or cross over to the other side of the street, right? That's inner talk from what we see on the around us. You know, like if I'm looking, I'm like, gosh, I want to get rid of this couch, you know, but it's they don't have one to replace it, right? That's the inner talk. That's what I'm thinking inside of my head, right? And so we go, the other one was the deeper beliefs, opinions, perspectives, and judgments. And, you know, even that is based off of what we've heard our parents say, right? Because when we when we grow up, when we are in childhood, it's what's set for us. Our religion is what's set for us. Our education is what's set for us. Whether we have one or not is set for us. How our opinions about our politics, or about our country, about our world around us, about other people, you know, about other races, about sexes and genders, about animals, right? That's all set for us. To a greater or lesser degree. That's all we get our introduction to all that, because we don't come in here being able to verbalize or articulate that right off the bat. Right? We don't. So, but those, you know, the opinions, the politics, the beliefs, that's that deeper self-talk. So, you know, I know I had a self-talk the other day about something that I saw on TikTok politically, and I try not to make any comments on anybody's TikTok about politics, or I don't care whether what the race is or whatever. I don't care. You know, I just really try not to talk about it, not to engage in that. But I had a lot of self-talk going on, you know, to the point where I had to say a few things out loud, you know, because, you know, when you get so heated with it, you you can't keep it back. You can't keep it to yourself, you know. But I'm by myself. It's something that I wouldn't, and I learned to talk out loud on the streets. So I got comfortable with that. Anyway, so self-talk can be our biggest fan or our loudest stand. Okay. How we learn to perceive ourselves stems from how others have talked about us. What did our parents say? What did our teachers say? Right? Like that, you know, so you may have had the teacher say, oh, you know, you've got to, you know, on a parent teacher conference, it's like, oh, your child is just the most beautiful, intelligent, well-mannered child that I've ever seen. But then you got, oh, you know, other teachers or, you know, whatever, who will be like, oh gosh, you know, your child is, we've really had to maybe say that your child can't be here, right? Your child can't be with us. Your child can't, whatever. Okay. So, because I know what my parents said, and I'm not going to rehash that because it depresses some people. But, you know, I mean, like my parents, it's like if you would have been a normal child, and I've said this many a times, you know, they would also, I would have relatives say there's something wrong with you, but never explain. That's gaslighting. Right? So that's part of that self-talk came in when later, you know, it would show how harmful it was to hear, right? Because when we're just growing up, when we're just come into this lifetime, we are still trying to process the world around us. What is this called? What is that called, right? Gratefully, some of us are at a higher level intellectually when we come in. So things that are hard, or they say are hard and they aren't hard, we just do it. So that's our saving grace. Our saving grace is that we can walk by two, you know, or walk at one, right? That's our saving grace. Our saving grace is that we know the difference between hot and cold, even though we're not around parents who are teaching us that. Right? So we absorb. When we get that negativity in, we absorb it because we don't know how to process it. Our brain doesn't know how to process it because we haven't been given the words. We haven't read it yet. We haven't read what such and such mean. Even if we see the letters, we don't understand what this and this means, right? All right. So if family said you would never amount to anything over and over, did you absorb it into your subconscious consciousness? I should have put birth it through your consciousness to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay. So, I mean, and I was, again, just what I said, it's like, you know, we absorb. We're not protecting our subconsciousness because we don't know what the subconsciousness is. We're unconsciously allowing things into our subconscious to become conscious. We are unconsciously allowing things to be inserted into, which is mostly toxicity, somebody else's toxicity, to be inserted into our subconscious to be birthed as conscious reality in our lives. Okay. Inner critic types: worrier, anxious, fearful, point out all that can go wrong. Critic judges everything wrong you do as well as others. So these are the types of voices that you may get in your head, you know, like I'm a critic, I'm that anxious worrier. Okay, like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm both of these: anxious worrier, critic. And sometimes it's good to have good judgment, but when you're always sitting back and judging people as if you're better than them, then that's where, you know, you kind of need to back up or back off. Let me scroll back a little bit here. That's when you need to back up, back off. I'm getting ready to sneeze. Woo, thank you, Lord. So, I'm that worrier. As I said, I'm both of these. And I think we're going to have a little bit of each, and maybe at different stages in our lives, but be conscious of the type of self-talk that you engage in yourself with, right? Be conscious of that. I know I'm that worried. I'm like, oh gosh, I'm going to get beat. I'm going to get beat, or I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get fired. It's always catastrophic, right? Everything that I think, oh my gosh, I'm going to crash. I'm going to crash. I'm going to crash. I'm going to crash. You know, like, oh my God, I'm going to have to pay this. I'm going to have to pay this. I'm going to have to pay this. Like, I've paid taxes for the last 2 years, and I was like, oh, I didn't want to do my taxes. This is the first time that I didn't jump at the chance to do my taxes, you know, because I jumped up a tier, right? I'm not saying that I want to go backwards, but I would like to shoot up, you know, to where I can write a lot of stuff off and not have to pay anything, you know, and maybe get a refund, you know, whatever, know those secrets. But I was so afraid because I was like, I don't want to deal with having to pay them, especially when my goal is to save up to get out of the area that I'm in so that I can go to the next level of my, you know, on my journey, right? For the goals that I've set for myself. I want to experience, like we said before, I want to experience this new life. So what do I have to do, right? So I judge, and, you know, again, there's a difference between having good judgment and judging others, criticizing others for the fun of it, because you're being facetious, because you get off on it. You know, that's barbed humor, which is narcissistic, which is cluster B crap. So judges everything wrong you do as well as others. Okay, so that's what you're doing to yourself. And sometimes when we've had parents